My name is Etienne Moreau. I'm 68 years old, and if you ask anyone on this street in Boulder, Colorado, they'll tell you I'm just another quiet retiree with too many books and not enough visitors. They don't know I once designed propulsion systems for the Air Force, or that I spent 3 decades building a fortune most hedge fund managers would envy. None of that mattered to my family, especially not to my son Gareth. He always saw me as the weak link, the man with fading hearing and trembling hands, easy to manipulate, easy to erase. I let him believe it. I let all of them believe it, but I've never been good at playing the victim. 3 nights ago, Gareth tried to take everything from me, my money, my house, even my name. And when I said no, he made sure I couldn't hold a pen to say it again. But what he didn't know was that I'd been preparing for this moment long before he thought to destroy me. The air in the living room had gone completely still, except for the sound of the wall clock ticking. It was 4:12 p.m., the kind of hour that made you sleepy, unless your son was looming over you, holding a pen like a dagger. "Sign it," Gareth whispered. His tone wasn't a request. It was a threat wrapped in silk. I looked down at the manila folder spread open on the coffee table. Legal pages. My name, my house, my accounts, a transfer of ownership that would erase me from everything I'd built. He leaned closer. The scent of his cologne was too sharp, like he sprayed on confidence because he couldn't grow it. "This is for the best, Dad. You're not thinking clearly anymore. You've been slipping." That word, slipping. My jaw tensed. Gareth grabbed my right wrist hard. He shoved the pen into my hand. My fingers curled, but not tight enough. My body betrayed me with the shake that age brings, but my mind didn't. "I'm not signing that," I said. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He just twisted. I heard it before I felt it. A dry snap. My index finger bent backward in a way fingers aren't supposed to bend. Pain exploded. I saw white. I gasped, not from shock, from rage. "This is your signature now." Gareth hissed, dragging the pen across the page himself, then pressing my broken finger to the ink. "It's done." The smear of red on the legal page looked like a wound. A soft knock at the door. We both froze. Gareth turned. Through the glass panel, a shadow moved, small, curious. Mrs. Lewin. She stood on her porch, holding her Pomeranian in one hand and a casserole dish in the other. Her eyes caught mine through the glass, just for a second. Then she stepped back. Gareth cursed under his breath and closed the folder. "If you say anything, Dad, it's not just your finger that gets broken." I let him walk out. I didn't shout. I didn't run to the phone. I waited 3 minutes. Then I walked to the kitchen. My hand throbbed, useless and bent, but I used my left to unlock the drawer beneath the sink. Inside, wrapped in an old cloth, was the key to a safe that Gareth didn't know existed. Pain makes people weak, but secrets make them dangerous. He thinks it's over, but I haven't even started playing. The pain in my finger pulsed like a metronome, steady and taunting, as I slid the envelope under the floorboard in my bedroom. The blood had dried. The documents were still damp. I didn't bother calling a doctor. I didn't want questions. I wanted time. The house was silent again, like it always was after Gareth left. He never slammed the door. That wasn't his style. He closed it gently, made sure the world stayed fooled. A storm was rolling in. I could smell the metallic taste of rain in the air. I moved through the hallway, lights off, navigating by habit. My broken hand throbbed with every step, but my left hand, my good hand, reached for the old bookshelf against the wall. 4th shelf. Push. Slide. Click. The panel behind the books shifted just enough. I pulled it open with a breath caught in my throat. Inside, an old tin lockbox and a flash drive taped to its underside. "Never put all your gold in one vault," Victor Davenport once told me. And never trust. A vault someone else built. I dropped to one knee, easing the box out. The storm hit hard outside. Thunder cracked. My reflection in the window flickered, pale, thinner than I remembered, older. The ledger inside was wrapped in plastic, pages yellowed, handwriting sharp and precise. My handwriting, Victor's notations in red. It wasn't just old numbers, it was a map, a hidden trail. I powered on the burner laptop I kept offline, battery charged once every 6 months like clockwork. No network, no tracking. I plugged in the flash drive. A folder opened. Inside, 6 subfolders, each labeled with the names of LLCs I'd long forgotten, holding companies, shells, buried under layers of offshore filings and Delaware paperwork. And the final folder, Davenport Trust Obsidian. Obsidian. My mouth went dry. That was the code name for the portfolio Victor created in 1999. Defense patents, experimental tech, IP bought from bankrupt labs, hidden under unrelated venture capital. Fronts. Buried deep was a PDF. Legal transfer, notarized, not to me, to my son. No, not Gareth's full name. Just G. Moreau. I stared at the signature line. It wasn't mine, but it looked damn close. Gareth had already started carving into the vault, long before today, and I never saw it. A beep. Low and sharp. I froze. Not the laptop, the camera, the tiny black dome in the corner of the study, installed 3 years ago after a break-in scare. I'd told myself it was for peace of mind. I'd never activated the recording, but now the red light was blinking, and I hadn't turned it on. I yanked the cord out of the wall. No time to panic, just enough time to plan. I copied the Obsidian folder to a clean USB, slipped it into my sock. The ledger went back in the box, back behind the panel, closed. Click. Downstairs, my phone buzzed. Blocked number, I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, another buzz. A text. One word. Obsidian. No name. No trace. Only one other person alive knew that word. And he died 12 years ago. Unless. I picked up the phone, dialed a number I hadn't touched in years. It rang. Then rang again. Voicemail picked up. Carla Nix, former federal investigator, the only one who ever got close to Victor. She'd left the agency, disappeared. Last I heard, she ran a private consultancy in the Springs. I left a message. Obsidian's open. I didn't crack it. Someone else did. I didn't expect a call back. Some people don't come back when they vanish. Others are waiting for a reason. Upstairs, the light in my bedroom flickered. A power surge? Maybe. Or someone tapping in. I stepped to the window. Across the street, a car I didn't recognize. Lights off, engine running, a silhouette behind the wheel. Motionless. I stayed in the shadows. You don't confront the lion in his den. You wait until his claws are bloody, and then you bury him where no one will hear the roar. The cameras inside my own house aren't mine. Morning hit like a slap. I hadn't slept. I couldn't. Every shadow in the house felt like a person. Every creak in the floorboards made my lungs stall. Paranoia's a liar until it's not. By 8 a.m., I was standing on Mrs. Lewin's porch, knuckles red from the cold, heart thrumming like an alarm clock that wouldn't shut up. She opened the door without a smile. "I figured you'd come," she said, voice thin as thread. "You better come in quick." I stepped inside. Her house smelled like chamomile and polished wood, too calm for what she knew. She walked me to the dining room without asking questions. There was a laptop on the table, open. Video paused. "Is it from your ring?" I asked. She nodded. I didn't want to watch it alone. She hit play. The screen lit up with last night, 4:12 p.m. Gareth walking in, slamming the door. My voice, faint, shaky. Then the struggle, then the snap. My stomach turned. "You saw it," I said. "I saw." "Enough," she whispered. "But that's not why you're here, is it?" I paused, swallowed dry air. "No," I admitted. "Who was the third person?" She fast-forwarded. At 4:18, the camera glitched. 1 second, Gareth leaving. The next, just for a frame, someone else, half obscured, standing at the edge of the screen by my garage. Face in shadow, black coat, no movement. Then gone. I leaned in. Freeze it. She did. I squinted. That's not Gareth's car, I murmured. That's Roe's make. You know him? Only by name. But if he's here, this isn't just about money anymore. She stared at the screen. Her jaw flexed. I wasn't just a government analyst, Etienne. I was on the Davenport task force before it was disbanded. Silence. You worked the Obsidian case, I said. She nodded, slowly. They told us the files were gone, that the money vanished with Victor. It didn't vanish, I said. It evolved. I pulled the USB from my coat, set it on her table. Her eyes widened. You still have data this sensitive? She whispered. It was never deleted, I said, just buried in the right hole with the right shovel. She stared at the screen again. Roe's not here for your son. Gareth's a pawn. You're the prize. And what does that make you? I asked. She didn't blink. Collateral, or maybe bait. Cutscene. We moved to her basement. She keyed in a 6-digit code behind a painting. Steel door, safe room. Inside, walls lined with archived documents, a desk rigged with hard drives, an old encrypted laptop, the kind of place people built when they didn't expect to live forever. She slid the USB in. A moment passed. Screen flickered. Folders opened. The files spilled across the monitor like rot, tax IDs, routing numbers, shell companies, and at the center of it all, Obsidian. You understand what you're holding, don't you? She said. This isn't just about inheritance, I said. It's infrastructure, legacy, military tech, black ops. If Roe gets this, he doesn't need a country. He is one. She typed rapidly, cross-checked names, froze. Her face paled. He's erasing you. What? Digitally. Every trace of your ownership, your patents, your identities being unraveled in real time. She turned the monitor. My social security status. Flagged for retirement correction. Bank account. Pending audit. Real estate title under transfer review. They were rewriting me. You can fake a memory, she said, but a database is forever. Unless someone erases it first. My pulse hammered. Someone's logging in with my credentials, she pointed. The IP's routed through Denver, from inside a registered trust firm. Pause, she zoomed in. Firm name, Marston and Roe Holdings. I laughed once, dry, bitter. They're not even hiding anymore. We sat in silence. You're losing time, she said. I stood. I've been quiet too long. Where are you going? To make noise. She reached for my wrist. Be careful. They don't just delete data, Etienne. They delete people. I looked her in the eye. Then it's time someone crashes the system. He's not just watching. He's coming back. The rain hit hard and fast. By the time I reached the outskirts of Aurora, the windshield wipers were useless. Water smeared everything into static. The storage unit sat behind a shuttered auto shop. No lights, no sign, just concrete and rust. I keyed in the code with my left hand. My right still wrapped, bones angry beneath the gauze. The metal door hissed upward. A breath of cold air spilled out stale and thick with dust. I stepped in, locked it behind me. The walls were concrete. No windows. A single bulb dangled from a frayed cord overhead. It swung slightly. Not from wind. Someone had been here. The unit was mostly empty. A workbench, an oil-stained tarp, a filing cabinet dented on one side. I knelt by the back wall, pried up the loose tile I'd placed years ago. Underneath, a fireproof case, heavy, unmarked. I laid it on the bench, cracked the combination. Inside, old financial ledgers, a small black notebook, and one flash drive. Red sticker, no label. And then, buzz. My phone vibrated. Unknown number. I answered. Etienne. Calm. Smooth. British accent sharpened like glass. Casey and Roe. You took your time, I said. You took what's mine. It was never yours. Victor would disagree. I scanned the unit. The corners. The overhead bulb flickered. I buried this for a reason, I said. And we've let you pretend it was safe. But the illusion ends now. Click. Dead air. I drop the phone. Twist. The black notebook. Flipping through the pages, I stopped at a hand-drawn diagram labeled Obsidian Phase 2, schematics, surveillance tech, micro-implant signatures, encryption algorithms tied to defense contracts no civilian should have touched, and notes in Victor's handwriting. Transfer to G. Moreau? He planned this, but the name, Gareth. He wasn't supposed to have access. He wasn't even born when this was created, which meant Victor didn't mean him. He meant me. Cutscene. A click behind me. I turned. The lock on the storage door rattled. A shadow blocked the bottom slit of light. I killed the bulb. Silence. Then, footsteps. Soft. Deliberate. Someone trying not to be heard. I slipped the notebook and drive into my coat. Eased to the side wall. Footsteps closer now. Flashlight beam hit the floor, swung across the room. I held my breath. A silhouette entered. Utility vest, dark gloves, ID badge half covered. Not police, not Gareth. Rose Guy. He turned his back. I moved fast, grabbed the fire extinguisher from the shelf. Swung hard. Crack. He dropped. Not out cold, but stunned. I kicked the light switch, flooded the room in harsh yellow. He groaned, reached for a radio. "Tell Rowe," I said. "If he wants what I have, he'll have to dig me up." Then I ran. Cutscene. The street outside was empty. No cars, just thunder and the scent of electricity in the air. I didn't head home. I drove west, back to Boulder, back to Mrs. Lewin. When I arrived, the lights in her house were out. I rang the bell. No answer. Something felt wrong. I tried the door. Unlocked. I stepped in. Silence. Her laptop was still on the dining table, screen dimmed, a coffee mug half drunk, no steam. Upstairs, a creak. I paused. Another footstep. My breath caught. A figure moved at the top of the stairs. Not Lewin. He wore a black raincoat, mask over his face. We locked eyes. He turned, bolted through the upstairs hallway. I ran. Up the stairs. Into the bedroom. The window was open, curtains fluttering. Gone. But on the desk, something left behind. A USB. Same red sticker. A note taped to it. "You missed one." My hands shook as I plugged it into her laptop. One file. A video feed. Rowe. Gareth. My name on a bank document. Their voices. "This account gets scrubbed tomorrow. Obsidian is in place. Etienne's already fading." I stared at the screen. Jaw clenched. They think I'm a name they can delete, but names written in blood don't vanish that easy. My son didn't betray me yesterday. He betrayed me decades ago. I didn't sleep that night. Again. Every tick of the clock felt like a countdown. My body was tired. My mind wide awake, wired, focused. Truth is, we don't break when we're betrayed. We break when we let ourselves believe it wasn't betrayal. 3:27 a.m. I sat at the kitchen table with a mug of cold coffee staring at the USB, the one left by the masked intruder, the one that shouldn't exist. The house was too quiet, too still, like it knew something was about to rupture. I scanned the neighborhood through the blinds. Across the street, the red Jeep. Same one from 2 nights ago. No plates, no movement. They weren't just watching me. They were daring me to notice. Cutscene. 6:12 a.m. Power went out. Just like that. Silence. The fridge stopped humming. The lights died mid-flicker. Then the soft, unmistakable creak of the garage door. I moved without thinking. Back hallway. Bottom drawer, gun safe. Code punched with my left hand. 38 revolver. Loaded. Stayed low. Breath tight. Each step calculated. My heartbeat had its own rhythm. Deliberate and hard. Front door, locked. Back window, slightly open. That's where they'd come in. I ducked behind the kitchen island. Footsteps, heavy, confident. 2 sets, 1 voice. "Room's clear." I clicked the hammer back. "Are you sure he's alone?" My hand trembled, not from fear, from rage. Then, crash. Back patio window shattered. Diversion. I took the shot. Boom. 1 round into the ceiling. Enough to scare, not to kill. Scrambling, voices raised. One cursed, the other fled. I bolted through the side door, out the yard, into the neighbor's hedges, cut through the fence, Mrs. Lewin's house. I didn't knock. I slammed my fist into the emergency panel beside her garage. She'd shown me once, years ago. Old habit. It worked. Garage door opened. I slipped inside. She met me there, in flannel and slippers, eyes wide but steady. "You look like—" "Hell," she said. They were inside. They're escalating. I'm done hiding. Cutscene. We moved to her basement. Again. This time, both of us armed. The feeds showed two men. One inside my house, the other pacing outside with what looked like a tablet. "They're scanning your network," she said. "Probably dumping your drives in real time." "They're not just after data," I muttered. "They want the whole narrative." Rewrite the man. Erase the threat. Exactly. She handed me a flash drive. "What's this?" "Their blueprint," she said. "I pulled it from a secondary feed yesterday, buried under a Marston Holdings subdomain." I opened it. Names, IP addresses, transaction logs, and one file labeled Phase Final Event, Denver Reveal. I scrolled. They were planning a presentation, public, investors, press, Cassian Rowe, Gareth Moreau, standing side by side on stage, selling Obsidian under a different name. And me? Scrubbed, omitted, dead on paper. "I'm going to that conference," I said. "You'll never make it inside," she warned. "I don't need to be in the room. I just need their screens." Cutscene. She handed me a burner tablet, preloaded with the video file of Gareth and Rowe. The conversation, the forged documents, the plan. "Broadcast it at the peak," she said. Big crowd, big fall. I nodded, and for the first time in days, I smiled. Not because I was winning, because they'd finally made a mistake. They let me live long enough to fight back. They're not just stealing your money, Etienne. They're rewriting your life. Denver Convention Center, noon. The lobby buzzed with suits and smiles, white teeth, black deals. The kind of air that smells like new carpet and old money. I blended in. Dark blazer, glasses, burn phone, no name badge. Security waved people through like cattle. No questions. The arrogance of power. It makes them sloppy. In the main ballroom, lights dimmed. The screens flickered to life. Gareth's voice boomed over the speakers. "Today, we unveil a new frontier of digital infrastructure. Innovation that rewrites the very foundation of secure data. Lies, polished and printed." Cassian Rowe stepped up beside him. Calm, icy, dangerous. They smiled for the cameras, for the press, for the investors in the front row with pens and fat checks. They thought they were launching a tech revolution. They were about to be the show. Cutscene, backstage, tech booth. I slipped in during the third round of applause. No eyes on me. The AV operator stepped out to take a call. One careless moment. That's all I needed. I plugged in Lewin's drive, hit play. For a second, nothing. Then, screen flash, audio override, Gareth's voice from 2 nights ago. "This account gets scrubbed tomorrow." Rowe. "Etienne's already fading. Once the funds settle, we ghost him for good." The room went dead silent. On screen, documents, real signatures, real accounts, side by side with the falsified ones. A click, a pause, Rowe's face on camera turning to Gareth. "If your father knew what you were doing, he'd bury us both." Gasps, murmurs, then the panic. Gareth froze, hands still raised like he could explain it away. Rowe turned toward the tech booth, saw me. Recognition flashed across his face, the first crack in his porcelain shell. He moved. I pulled the fire alarm. Alarms screamed. Sprinklers burst overhead. Screams. Phones out. Chaos. Rowe pushed through the crowd, but security moved faster. Someone tackled him at the stairs. Gareth ran. Wrong direction. Straight into the press room. Cameras rolling. I walked out the back. Cutscene. 10 minutes later, street outside. Police cruisers screamed up the curb. Agents and windbreakers swarmed the entrance. Rowe in cuffs. Gareth shouting about forgery, coercion, manipulation. But the evidence had already been emailed to the DOJ, to the SEC, to 20 journalists, and one woman, Detective Carla Nix, now consulting for a federal oversight committee. She met me 2 blocks away, leaning against a black SUV. "You always had a flair for spectacle," she said. "They wanted to erase me. I made sure they remembered me first." "They'll both go down," she said. "Rose facing 20. Your son, depends what he knew." "He knew enough to break my finger," I said. "That counts for something." She paused, then handed me a manila envelope. "What's this?" "Your record, your accounts, all cleared, ownership reinstated. You exist again." I opened it. My name, clean, legacy intact. Cutscene. Boulder. A week later, I stood in my front yard, repainting the fence. Finger still healing, but the bones stronger than ever. Mrs. Lewin walked over with iced tea, smiled. "You really going to stay here after all that?" I looked across the street. The red Jeep was gone. So were the shadows. I built this house with my wife, watched my son take his first steps here. I'll watch the last stones fall here too, if I have to. She nodded. "You win by staying." "No," I said. "You win by surviving what tried to end you and planting something better in its place." She raised her glass. "To survival? To legacy." She left. I sat on the porch as the sun dropped. Truth is, people don't change, but they reveal. And when they do, you don't fight them with fire. You outlive them. They stole my name. I carved it back into history.